Let's just sew whatever. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are making the bomb.com beauty bag. This is a really old pattern of mine, but I still really love it. It needs an update and I haven't had time. So I'm going to show you how I would make it in today's world. I don't know. So this is the new one I made. This is my old one. It's been smashed in a drawer, but this is the very first one that I made. I swear it's not that bad. No, it's pretty bad. It does clip closed very satisfyingly. It's just been mistreated for a little while. So I used glitter vinyl, a cotton lycra, and then for the lining I used cotton woven with the vinyl fuse from the Heat and Bond Light. I also only riveted the handle on. I don't know why I did that, but it is what it is. So it's in pretty rough shape. Here is like that brush roll. It was too long, so I shortened it. The clear vinyl zipper pocket there is still one of my favorites. Here is this vinyl slip pocket. And for some reason I thought these straps would be neat to hold my makeup palettes. It did not work out well. And then I added like a fun overlay. This vinyl fuse from Heat and Bond is not great. But I did love this for a long time and thought I was real fancy. But I'm going to move into this one now because it's so cute. I honestly haven't been using the other bomb.com because it's so gross. I've been using this bag that I made. It's a So Sweetness pattern. I made it forever ago, and I remember being really mad that I'd bought a pattern that did not have like the gusset piece. You had to like size it yourself. So it's a little bit of a mess, but I also embroidered it. It says Lauren's bag of crap. So that's fun. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I had so much fun making it, and I will see you in the next portion of the video. Okay, bye. Alright, y'all, I am so excited to make the bomb.com beauty bag for the first time in several years. This pattern definitely needs a major overhaul, but I sadly don't have the time to overhaul it. But I'm going to be using zipper tape instead of the zippers shown in the pattern, but you can absolutely still use those zippers as well. So I'm going to be using two size number 3 zipper. These are cut to 7 inches each, and then one number 5 zipper cut to 14 inches. I'm just putting my zipper pulls on like that, and then the only other hardware we need is 2 sets of magnets, and then some fold over elastic. And after that we can get started. So it talks about prepping your pattern pieces, fusing any interfacing you're using to your pattern pieces, etc. But we're going to start with making the flap with brush roll. If you wanted to omit the brush roll, you absolutely could. It is optional technically. You could add a different zipper pocket, you could make a slip pocket, whatever you'd like, you can do. So I've got my fold over elastic here prepped with double-sided tape. I used double-sided tape and folded that under 1/2 inch so that it's a nice finished edge, and you can see it matches up to the size on our template piece. And then I need to grab the piece with our magnetic snap placement, because this is the underside of the brush roll where magnets are going to be placed. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and get started by adding our zipper tabs to our little piece of zipper tape. It's not that hard of a word, but here I am. So I actually decided I wanted to use the clear vinyl for my little zipper tabs on the number 3 zippers. On my top zipper, I have zipper tabs cut there. And then you can use double-sided tape on the clear vinyl to hold it in place. And I'm just going to use 1/2 inch wide double-sided tape. You could also use like 1/8 inch wide double-sided tape along each end. And depending on what brand you use, you may actually be able to see your tape. I know that there's a brand at Joann's that's not the greatest. That has like a bit of a texture to it. It's kind of strange. You can see that tape is holding on beautifully. And I know that I have 2 zippers here within the pattern, so I'm just going to prep both of them at the same time. So I've got that folded over. And then I'm sewing about 1/8 of an inch from the top edge of my zipper tab. This way of doing a zipper tab is really fun because it's less bulk. You're not using a ton of folded over cotton. But if you are using cotton for your zipper tabs, I recommend just don't interface them if you can help it. It's always a good idea to start with maybe 3 bobbins for your project so that you don't run out. And then since this is a clear vinyl, I'm going to go ahead and trim down those zipper tabs as much as I can. So like this little overhang here, I don't want that. I'm going to trim it so it's nice and flush and looks good. And then using scraps for those zipper tabs works perfectly. Especially they're so small and sometimes you end up throwing away pieces that small anyway. So it's like, why not? All right, so those are prepped. And now we can grab our piece of clear vinyl. And we're going to take one zipper, lay it face down centered on the clear vinyl zipper pocket piece. And then there's going to be excess clear vinyl on either sides. That's okay. That's because we don't want to risk getting that zipper within the seam allowance of the brush roll. I am using 2 layers of vinyl on the brush roll, but that is because it's an accessory weight vinyl, so it's super lightweight. It's not going to add bulk. Well, I should say it's not going to bulk up fast. But I do have an industrial walking foot machine, so I have that advantage. All right, so sewing that into place, and then we're going to fold this down. If you need to use double-sided tape here, you can, but you want to fold that down like 1/4 of an inch. There we go. And it might be hard to get the whole piece to sit in place where you need it, so just kind of take it a couple inches at a time, small sections. There we go. The clear vinyl that I'm using is from Fabric Therapy, and then the vinyl and waterproof cotton that I'm using are from my website. Okay. So it says to fold the bottom of the clear vinyl under by 1/4 of an inch, That's just so we don't have this raw edge here. So we can go ahead and do that. I'm just going to use 1/4 inch wide double-sided tape. This one is from Weft and Warp Co, and I do sell it on my website as well, as Weft and Warp Co sells it too, but just throwing that out there. So folding that up. I use a seam roller. Yeah. So again, you really want to be careful of what double-sided tape you're using so that you can't see too much of it. All right, so now we're going to place the clear zipper pocket on the flap. Use the flat pattern piece to transfer the pocket placement, or measure down 3.75 inches. For a second, I was like, I probably shouldn't be giving out these measurements. It's my pattern. I can do that. So I have this 4-inch ruler here. That's going to be perfect. I can just measure 3.75 down and make a really quick line. You don't want to go the whole way across, just a small section, because this is where we're going to attach our zipper. So you could tape this down if you wanted, but we're going to line up the raw edge of our zipper there. Clip that, and we're going to sew that in place. You could do one line of stitching, but I kind of like to do a little box stitch. It's a little bit easier with a number 5 zipper tape. But if you sew right at 1/8 of an inch from that edge, pivot up, and then just do another line of stitching. It's just like extra secure. Okay. So now that is nice and secure, and we're just going to fold this down. And you want it to kind of sit on top of itself. You don't want it to be down like that, because that's a little weird looking. So yeah, you just want it to kind of like sit on itself. Like that. And then we're going to sew in a U shape. I think I want to add a little woven label here. I think I'm going to do, we're both one of a kind. Oh no, it's one of my last ones. Yeah, put that right there. Because you want to make sure that it's definitely out of your seam allowances. You're not going to see this initial side basting stitch, but you will see the bottom sewing on this pocket. Okay, so you can see this is our little clear zipper pocket. I really love this pocket to put like lip liners, eyeliners, all those different liners within this pocket. But if you are going to be using this for a notions, tools bag, this would be a great place to put your pens and pencils, that kind of a thing. But that is completed. So we can now add the fold over elastic. And we're gonna stitch a little box stitch around the ends, and then you can transfer the markings, or if you want to just measure it out, I think I've got them at like 3/4 of an inch or 1/2 an inch from each other. Maybe even 5/8, who knows? Ooh, what do we get at HQ? Lots of stuff. Okay. So yeah, you can center that out. And again, this part is totally optional. If you don't want to add a brush roll, you do not have to. You just want to keep in mind that if you wanted to add more slots, the flap sits under the bag a little bit. So you're going to be losing a couple of inches down at the bottom. So that's why I tend to not make it any longer. We just want that right up next to that piece there, centered. We can use a tiny little bit of glue or double-sided tape to hold that down along the bottom corners. There and there. And you don't want to stretch this. You just want it to be the size that it is, so that way it has plenty of stretch within itself. Now, if you're making this as a tools bag and you know exactly what you want to put in that section, I would definitely measure that out. Otherwise, you can just transfer the markings as is. So I just made a tiny little 1/2 inch dash there because that's where I need to box stitch. And then we can transfer boop, 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 boop. Those little pieces there. And then when I'm sewing these in place, I like to, instead of, you know, back stitching, pulling, etc., I just add little jump threads. So I'll stitch the line I need to, and then I'll jump over to the next line that I need to sew. And then in the end, we'll just trim all of those down. Last one. And then I don't trim any of the threads in the back, just because that'll help with the longevity. But it's kind of like if you've ever done machine embroidery, it's like they've got the little jump threads from when it skips stitches, or not skips stitches, but moves on to the next thing it needs to sew, etc. So that is a little brush roll there, so we could add our seam ripper and our screwdriver and our snips. That was satisfying. And then let's go ahead and add our magnetic snaps. I have already added interfacing there behind where the snap piece goes, and we want to add the female. Male. Yeah, so the outie portion. If you're using like a thin magnetic snap, it really doesn't matter which one you decide to use. So I used the the self-adhesive interfacing from Fabric Therapy on this final. My plan was to do the whole brush roll with the interfacing, but I just, like, I don't think it needs that much structure since it's double vinyl and you want this to be friendly for all machines. So I would say just kind of make that decision based on what you're looking for, on what kind of interfacing you would like to use. When I designed this pattern, I was a really big fan of 809, and I'm not saying that I'm not still a fan of 809, I just don't use it as often. I think it's a little more expensive than it used to be and a little bit harder to find. But I do enjoy using 809 for structure without density. Decaville Light could also work, but it's going to add a lot of thickness, especially in a domestic machine. All right. So next we're moving on to the outer flap, the flap exterior. We're going to take the handle piece and fold it in half long ways, wrong sides together, and top stitch around all four sides. So I decided I actually want to try folding in so that the raw end of the handle isn't on the edge, it's in the center where you can't see it. So I was like, oh, yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to fold those long raw edges into the center instead of folding it in half. And I will do a super quick top stitch around. Then we're going to grab the exterior flat piece that already has the handle stabilizer fused to the wrong side. And using the handle stabilizer as a guide, you're going to match up the short edge of the handle with the short edge of the handle stabilizer. And then tape it into place. So a 1-inch box around each handle end to secure it. And then you could also add a rivet. So I'll go ahead and start by measuring out, just making a little 1-inch line. There are instructions for how to add like a faux rolled handle, and that's kind of fun, but not that it makes it flimsy or anything, but like it just makes it a little bit thinner. So a little piece of double-sided tape to put under the handle. Now for the handle stabilizer, I would definitely recommend using Peltex or Decaville Heavy. I have used here the self-adhesive and it's not quite firm enough, but it's going to add some structure still, so I'm not that worried about it. But what I'm doing is I'm just feeling through the fabric to make sure I'm on that stabilizer. like that. That's such a cute little handle. And then we'll just sew that into place. And since the handle isn't too thick, because we didn't have like 4 pieces rolled or folded together, it shouldn't be too bad. So I'm just gonna do a box stitch. I'm not going to sew the X in the middle, and then I'm gonna add a rivet just for a little fancy, to fancify it. And that's our handle completed, and I'm going to add a little rivet there and there. All right, so next is going to be putting right sides together on the flap pieces. And you can decide either way, up, like either side facing up, it's not gonna matter. I am using just hair clips to hold my pieces together. I don't need a super strong hold. I just need a hold. Make sure that you press your flap handle out of the way and that your pieces are lined up together nicely. And so I've got plenty of room between the zipper ends, etc., that there isn't going to be a ridiculous amount of bulk. And then it's a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So if you need to mark out 1/2 inch, I say do it, but I know that that's that 4 inch line. Or not 4 inch, oh my gosh. It's the number 4 mark. And then for the corners, you want to keep your needle down, pivot, and then continue on. Keep the needle down, continue on. And then we'll go ahead and trim down our excess fabric. Especially at the top here, so we can get a nice clean shape. And I would suggest, if you were to, for some reason, make that clear slip pocket out of a woven fabric or anything like that, I would suggest not trimming down the seam allowance there too much, just in case there's any fraying in the future. But like with this clear TPU, there's not going to be any fraying, so I'm not worried about it. So we're gonna flip it right sides out, press along the seams. It's so cute. Gosh, I have not made one of these in so long. And then you can use an iron to press if you're not using vinyl, but there's no way I can iron this safely. So I'm just kind of folding the edges, rolling them, and clipping. And then you can decide if you're going to top stitch from above or below with your pocket facing up, but I'm gonna top stitch as I normally would with the flap facing up, because that's what people are going to see when the bag is just sitting, you know. And then we're gonna go slow over the clear vinyl section because that's where we've added a bit of bulk. So you just wanna make sure that your machine doesn't skip any stitches. And then once we get to that corner, we're gonna leave the needle down and pivot and continue. Perfect. And then our flap is complete. All right, we are going to finish our front and back exterior panels. And those are actually squares, so be careful with that. Yeah. So for one of these pieces, I already marked out my snap placement on the front top portion. So I can just grab my washers and my female, my innies, and mark those out. That's going to be 1 inch down from the top edge and 2.5 inches in case you need that measurement. I did not add any interfacing to the exterior of my bag except for those little pieces of stabilizer. I don't want this to be overly structured. This one that I'm making is actually the sample for the So Magical Expo cruise happening in, well, it happened by the time this video is up, but I just wanted to remind myself that I could make it and know how to make it with updated materials. So yeah, here we are. So this is now our front. So if you want to add a nameplate, woven label, or, you know, Heartwood and Hide cork label, now would be the time and this would be the place. So I'm going to do it. But it's always the hunt of which one. Which label? This one is gonna look nice. So they actually have these little name tag placement tools. They're so cool. So I'm gonna use that to place. Just make sure you contact them before purchasing, especially if you have a custom name tag, because they'll be able to direct you to which one you need. to center your bag tag. But what you do is you just put in a little marking pen, make your 4 little corner notches, and you're going to line those up sorry, my head's coming in right there. Oh, that's upside down. Don't do it upside down. And it'll just overlap those corners a little bit, and then we'll top stitch that down. Love it. All right, and then we will work on the back panel now. And remember, this is a square. So just make sure that your fabric orientation is as you would like it. But there is no clear way of knowing what's up or down. So there's a pocket binding piece that I decided to make out of vinyl for this one. So I cut it to half the size because I don't need to cover up any raw edge. Like, I don't need to worry about a fraying edge. So I'm just going to sew this in place. This would be a really good place to add a woven label as well. If you wanted to, I was thinking about this, you could add a zipper pocket to the front panel as well. What you would do is just cut probably at 3 inches. Yeah, I would cut it at 3 inches, cut out 2 lining pieces that are the same size as the lower half, add your zipper as you would a normal pocket, make sure you sew up the bottom edge and then baste all the way around. And then you've got another little zippered section on the front of your bag to use. Should be fun. But the reason I don't have any kind of a pocket on the front, like a slip pocket like this, is that I didn't want things to be able to just kind of fall out. So it's on the back where it's covered by that brush roll. This vinyl on this fabric is a little busy. It's giving me a small headache, but it looks cute-ish. So whatever. We're gonna baste that into place. And there's that portion finished. So now we can take our side panels and if you've ever made the peekaboo, this is very similar with how you line up those long side edges. And there's a little notch that goes in the center, or I should say faces into the center. It doesn't go in the center. And that's how we add the bottom of the bag. So what differs between the peekaboo and this is a little bit taller. This has a separate bottom panel instead of the panels coming together to box themselves. And then of course the brush roll and the inside pockets. So this is like the peekaboo's cooler, older sister, I guess you could say. Not that they have to be sisters, but older sibling. So this we're going to sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So lining up to that 1/2 inch marking. And I have had my stitch length set to 4.5 millimeter the whole time. Is it millimeter? And then we're going to fold that open and top stitch. All right, so this is the back, which means this is where the brush roll gets placed. And then if you have your seam allowances spot on, you should not see any of your exterior fabric or your main panel fabrics peeking out. So I'm just going to baste this down into place. If you did not have your seam allowances right and for some reason maybe it overlaps or it underlaps, it's not the end of the world, just so you know. Do it, yeah. I was not holding my threads, and I was literally thinking about saying make sure you hold your threads if you're using an industrial, and then I didn't do it. Okay, there we go. Make sure these notches are at the bottom. Alrighty, there's that. So now on the front exterior panel, we're gonna attach the bottom. We're just gonna go, so next to the stabilizer, but not through it, from one end to the other. And you're just sewing inside that notch. And then attach the brush roll. And then we're gonna work on the lining. And this does not get opened and top stitched because of the way the zipper gets attached. You would not be able to easily top stitch both sides of the bottom. So we're going to, just like we did on the exterior flap roll, we're going to add our zipper to one of these pieces of vinyl. I think on the one that I use all the time, I don't have any inside pockets, and I'm honestly debating, like, do I want to keep this one now, or do I want to not? Ooh. I think what I will do is I will show you the first one I ever made too. Which you will have already seen. So, hope you liked it. It's so old. The one on the cover was actually a custom order for an old mutual friend. Okay. Now this one you do see the edges of, so make sure you don't have like a bunch of loose threads and whatnot. Come on. There we go. Okay. Oh wow. I folded all of the edges in the pattern. Yeah, I don't think you gotta do that. Like, it would look nicer, but I'm not going to do that. Look at me, not even following my own pattern. All right, Ben, go on, go on. No, ah. Sir. Excuse you. Go on, go on, go on. Oh, sorry. Go on. All right, we've got our lining pieces here. Grab this. And this is going to get placed, looks like 2.75. Yeah, along, centered along the top. Sir. Could you not? All right, so 7 is my center. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. It's not going to hurt anybody if it's not 100% perfect in the right spot. As long as we're close, it's fine. You can also kind of eyeball it. There we go. So I'm going to clip it up here at the top so it doesn't shift. And then we're just going to do that quick little box stitch again. Making sure our zipper pull is out of the way. So if you get this far and you decide you really do need the edges folded under, there's still time. I'm gonna say not. Like, you're not gonna see, not gonna notice. I can barely see the clear vinyl as it is on this busy lining fabric. What you can do, just to be sure that you've caught it, is do like 1/8 of an inch and then 1/4 of an inch stitch. And then the next step for our lining is actually just a slip pocket, but if you want to add a zipper to it, feel free. Like, oh, that's pretty satisfying looking. So yeah, now we've got this clear zippered pocket so that you can see what you have and what you brought with you, so that if you're packing or something and you're like, oh, what do I need? You can see it easily. All right, we're gonna mark out our box opening here. And truly it can be whatever size you want. I'm just gonna do 7 inches. It might say 8 inches in the pattern. What does it say? 8. Okay, so if that's the case, all we need to do here is add another little 1/2 inch Easy peasy. And then we're going to center this. Right about there. And then I like to do 2 parallel lines. Like so. We'll cut that open. And you want to snip into the corners close, but not through it. And I'm just using a really, really sharp pair of scissors to do that as effectively as possible. So if you wanted to add a zipper with a zipper pull, you would just grab a number 5 zipper that was probably cut to about 10 inches. And then you can iron this, and I'm just going to press it. And then we will top stitch around the opening. Or if you wanted, you would add your zipper. It definitely feels like I'm missing something because I don't have a zipper there. And then we will be turning through this pocket. Oh, Ben. So what I'm gonna do is fold this up and top stitch in a U shape. Pressing that open will just save you time in the end. But now our lining is completed. Our exterior is completed. So we've just got all these little pieces now that are going to be held together with a zipper. I just have to now find my zipper. Ben, did he take it?
I think he took it. Yeah, he took it.
Okay, in the original pattern, because I was using a handbag zipper, there are no zipper tabs listed. So I think I cut these to, yeah, these are 2.5 by 1.5 so that we could fold the ends in nicely and fold them over the raw end of our zipper. It's crazy how much like changes over time. Like you learn new things, new products become readily available and popular. So I apologize that my patterns are a little outdated. I want to say this one came out like 5 years ago. Whew, that's rough to hear. So our finished zipper should be about 14 inches. Mine's like 14.25. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. So I'm going to grab the front panel along with my zippered pocket, clear zippered pocket piece. Those are going to go together. What we're going to do is we're going to center this along the front. You can use double-sided tape if you want to, or you can just baste it down. This part can get a little bit tricky because of the magnets being so close to the top edge, but that's the perfect place for them. But no matter what size your zipper is, you want to give yourself about 1 inch from each end so that there's plenty of space to top stitch and sew the side seams together. Okay, so there's that. We'll grab this piece. We'll sew those together. And then you just want to make sure that you're sewing as close to the zipper teeth as possible without sewing through them. And then this next part is totally up to you if you want to leave your lining up and top stitch completely through your exterior, or if you want to fold this down and only top stitch along your zipper. I'm going to top stitch through the whole top panel, but not through the lining. And this is just going to help the ends of our zipper look a lot better, a lot cleaner. And then we'll press that down and out of the way. If you are choosing to use this method, you really want to be careful that you don't get your zipper pull caught on your lining fabric. There's that. And now we're going to grab the other side, our lining and our exterior. I am going to use double-sided tape for this. Make sure you use 1/8 inch wide double-sided tape to tape this section. I would not use 1/4 inch because you could risk seeing it through your seam. Like if you aren't sure you can quite get close enough, you might see it. And we don't want that. So linings facing each other, right sides together. I'm gonna line that up. Pressing that into place without over manipulating the zipper. And then double-sided tape along that. And then we'll add our exterior. And line those up. And then I'm gonna fold this down, leaving my lining folded up. Make sure you don't top stitch through your flap. And then you really like look underneath, make sure you're not sewing through anything you shouldn't be. And that's what we're looking at. So we're gonna unzip our zipper halfway. We also need to sew our bottom onto the other side here. So we're gonna line that up. This can get a little bit bulky because of the flap. So again, just be very careful of what interfacings and materials you use if your machine would struggle. And then it's time to just put right sides together, matching our exterior panels and where the zipper is attached. Now, because I did not interface my vinyl side panels, it's a little bit flimsy, but I'm okay with that. I want something that is flexible, not too stiff. And if you feel more comfortable just top stitching this side first and then moving on to the other parts, you can do that. I think I can sew it all at once, but it is a fairly large size cosmetic bag, or whatever bag you want it to be. All right, so I'm going to start within the lining about 2 inches. And then instead of lifting my needle up and out, etc., I'm just folding that corner and pushing that corner closed that way. And then if you want to, you can increase your seam allowance in the lining and decrease it in the exterior, so that your lining is nice and tight within the exterior of the bag. All right, so then I'm flipping over to this side. Make sure you keep a consistent seam allowance, whatever it may be. If your layers got a little messed up, go ahead and resituate them. And then increase your seam allowance as you get to the lining. And then bring that next corner in. And then only sew about 2 inches-ish. And be done with that. So now we're gonna box the bottom and the corners. So we're gonna reach in, unzip our zipper all the way. And fold the bottom of the bag down on itself. If you've ever made like the Emily bag, this is a very similar bottom where you're just gonna fold down your seam allowance and sew next to but not through the stabilizer from end to end. And then repeat that on this side, opening up the seam allowance, butterflying it, laying that there. And then you can kind of trim at the corners. but I don't think I would recommend trimming through the brush roll section. Just in case over time, if it starts to like lift away, I really don't think it would, but there's no sense in reducing that seam. And then we will square the bottom here as well. And I will trim down that seam. And now we're ready to turn the bag. Honestly, I probably didn't need to leave the opening in the lining. This opening is actually bigger, so I'm gonna close this up. That's my bad. I'm so used to making like a different size bag. I don't know what I was thinking. So all of my corners are closed. Could trim that down. Seams trimmed where needed. Reach into our pocket here. Grab the bottom of the bag first. Brilliant. So we're gonna push out bottom corners, making sure everything looks good. Push out those corners, and you'll see how much nicer the corners can look if you don't top stitch through the entire seam with your lining. And then I like to press my lining into place, making sure everything looks good before I close up that turning hole. Oh, such a satisfying snap. But there we have our bag mostly completed. We just have to sew up the birthing hole. And like I said, I did not add like any interfacing to this bag, so it is pretty slouchy. If you're wanting something more structured, you can follow the recommended interfacings, but I just wanted something that was slouchy, flexible. The items inside will give it shape, not necessarily the interfacing needs to give it shape. Especially so that it's domestic friendly. Go ahead and push that lining pocket into place. And then you could add any changes to the lining you would want to make. You could add less pockets, more pockets. Here is what that brush roll section looks like. I absolutely love this bag. I forgot how fun it is to make. There's that little compartment there. A hack that I have seen some people make is, since sometimes magnets aren't very strong, especially if you overfill it, is they have added a strap connector here with a snap hook, as well as a like triangle ring or D-ring. That way you can clip it there, and then any pulling, etc., it won't come undone, but the magnets I have are pretty strong. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I would love to know if you have made or want to make the bomb.com beauty bag. I know Oakley Roots also has a tutorial you could check out. I don't know if there's any others at this time. Maybe Brandy Jackson. But anyway, that is all. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye! Okay, welcome to the end of the video. I thought it might be fun to do a little bit of like moving in ASMR. So here we go. I think. I've been carrying this makeup bag for a couple weeks because I've been traveling quite a bit. So this is like all of my essential stuff. Some of it I don't even really need, but I use it. I bring it. Oh, now it's just overwhelming. Okay. That's a new, okay. That's it. Oh, tweezers for those little hairs I gotta pluck. So I have this mirror that one of my best friends bought me. I don't support Jeffree Star, but I do love the mirror. I like having it with me, so I will tuck that in. This is a little zipper pouch I made from scraps of fabric a million years ago that I keep some of my brushes in and eyeliners, but now I will put them in their home. So I'm going to put my eyeliners in here and my brushes in the brush roll. Bam. One, two, three, four, five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow. It's like I planned it or something. I truly didn't. Put that in the slip pocket. And then if you know what size brushes you're putting into the roll, you can always plan for that too. It's like, I don't know if there's room for these. Oh yay, there is. Great. Love it. Okay, so I've got some face stuff. This is liquid highlighter, lip stuff. I think I'll put my lip stuff in here. And then inside, I'll go ahead and use the little clear zipper pocket for like my mascara and my concealer. And then the slip pocket isn't quite big enough for a makeup palette, so I'll just set that down in the bottom. But there is so much room in this bag for even more makeup if I needed that space. And then there's room for me to even put like this zipper pouch in there with some of my bigger brushes if need to. But that is the bomb.com all filled and ready for a trip. I will show you what that looks like. This brush is just too big. They're both too big. But you could even put like a, I don't know, like a little Velcro pad here or something to like wipe your brushes on if you needed to. I thought I would show you that even with it full, you can still grab on there with these magnets at least. So yeah, hope you enjoyed.